Selwyn here for WynnStrength.com, wrapping up the 4th week of training with the hypertrophy version of the Average to Savage 2.0 training program written by Greg Nuckols over at Stronger by Science. Like usual, I'll leave links below so you can check out the program as well as the Stronger by Science website. Some great resources there, so I highly recommend checking them out. So week 4 brings around some more good progress. I'm actually starting to be able to keep up with the program. I think the weights have fallen enough where my body's actually able to adjust and push out a little bit more work than I have in the past 3 weeks. So it's great. I've been able to actually throw in some extra accessory work, which has been nice. So building up again over last week, building in some more auxiliary work and accessory lifts to help build up that base. Again, we are focusing on hypertrophy, so it has been nice to get that higher volume. It is a different mindset to get into with the higher volume stuff rather than the lower volume, higher weight work, I found personally. So you just need to shift that mindset. I think it'll help definitely transfer through to when I focus back onto some strength training. But hypertrophy training has been fun by itself. I have been able to throw in some more direct arm work this week, which has been nice to get back to, as well as some more of the strongman lifts that I've been really wanting to sink my teeth into. So what's been interesting to learn over the last 4 weeks is how the body's able to adapt. I think now with definitely showing signs of adaptation to the higher training demands, I'm not feeling as fatigued or out of breath as I am for the entire course of each training session, which has been awesome. And I think that'll help transfer through to the longer, heavy weight training sessions. Even when I switch back to lower rep stuff, I definitely think this higher rep stuff will help transfer through for that work capacity and allow me to train harder for longer. And I think that's something that was definitely lacking in my previous training, is just straight up ignoring conditioning and GPP. So it has been good to see my body kind of relearn how to lift like this and how to train like this, get a good sweat going, and really learn how to dig deep and dig into those resources when you're getting into that 9th, 10th rep and above. Another thing to note, which I think is a sign of improvement and adaptation, is the fact that my muscles aren't as sore going into each training session. So over the course of the week, I would feel a lot sorer in between training sessions for like the first 3 weeks. I'm still feeling sore in between training sessions for the 4th week, but it is getting less and less. So I think that's a great sign that my body's adapting, albeit very slowly, to this new training stimulus. And I mean, I think it just goes to highlight how specific training is and how specific strength adaptations are. If you want to get stronger in this, you obviously train that way. And if you don't want to get stronger that way, train in a different way. What's nice with the higher rep ranges is that I'm actually able to look at my form and get more practice at looking how my form is breaking down or what it's doing good, and then execute that in the next set. So it's been nice, the higher volume stuff, to practice technique, and I think that's going to be a good thing for everybody to do. Is even with those 1 rep maxes, you have less of a room to fix things when compared to when you're doing, say, 10 reps of that movement. So I think another great aspect of doing higher rep volume training is that you're able to really hone in on the technique and make sure it is at the forefront of your training when you do work with these higher reps, is to focus on make sure that you are getting that work in at that intensity, but also that you're focusing on making sure that technique isn't breaking down as you get tired, because we all have a tendency to lose focus as the fatigue sets in. So what I'll do is I'll throw over to some training footage over the course of the week. I'll try to highlight some different movements this week. One thing that's helped with the front squat and maintain a better barbell rack position has been to really hunch my shoulders forward. So think of the opposite of retracting your shoulder blades and try and make them as far apart as possible to create more of front shoulder space at the front of the body. I've also been getting slowly accustomed to letting the barbell sit more on my throat, more like between my throat and collarbone. And I think that's really been helping to keep my elbows up and maintain that more upright back angle without letting the rest of the body kind of slip. Rather than letting it rest more on the meaty part of the deltoid, letting it rest behind the collarbone and really letting it sit in there. And that little tweak is a lot more uncomfortable, but it has meant the front squat movement itself has felt a lot better, especially for the position of the wrist pain that I used to experience with the front squats. Moving on to the Z press, performance this week was slightly better than last week. One thing to be aware of is the balance aspect of the lift. I've had a slight tight hamstrings this week, meaning that I wasn't able to get proper balance on the floor, but I don't usually have loose hamstrings, so it's a constant battle to keep those hamstrings and legs straight. You can see them pretty bent, and that's pretty much the extent of my flexibility there. But again, it's drifting me further backwards, which should help me over time get better at keeping that more upright torso angle again. So one tip for putting on straps with the deadlift is to kneel down while you're putting on the straps. I think this helps remove any strain from the lower back by having to stay bent over for that long. I do like using the straps just to remove that grip aspect out of the training program. Week 4, this is actually the first week in which I was able to complete the complete rep and weight recommendations based off of the program. We have seen some tapering down of the weights as the performance hasn't been keeping up with the initial recommendations, which I think I'm finally catching up to that point where the deadlifts will be able to start improving rather than seeing that degrading scale there. The other thing to notice this week is that it's the first week that I've actually concentrated on completing each and every rep to a full lockout position. The first 3 weeks probably weren't the most ideal technical execution of the deadlift, with a lot of let's say 75% deadlifts being completed. They're not really getting that full lockout position, so I made more of a conscious effort this week. So we're getting both better performance from a rep perspective as well as a technical perspective, something which I think should carry over in the long run here, which is great. Moving on to a high incline bench press, just with a regular grip. My pinkies are out on that powerlifting knurling. More performance improvements, focusing again on some more full reps with a slight pause at the top. I haven't noticed any shoulder discomfort 4 weeks into this program, so I think this angle is great. If you're dealing with some shoulder pain or discomfort around the bench press, try playing around with different angles and grip widths, as well as the different movements as well. If you're not competing in powerlifting, maybe you don't need to do a flat bench press with a barbell. Maybe you can do a slight incline or any other angle variant or grip variant, because it's not that important. Moving on to some fat grip rows. I supersetted these with that incline bench press. I think the fat grips will be a great strength builder for the grip. You'll notice there's a significant drop in weight that I normally can perform with the barbell row, which is a very bad sign of my weak grip. I also think the effect is called neural inhibition. When the brain does sense a weak grip, it won't activate as much muscle in an attempt to reduce injury by stopping you from lifting a weight that you can't even hold. Here we have the overhead press. As the reps continue, you can notice that my form does start to break down, mainly in the midsection. You can see this indicated by my lower back arch continuing to get bigger and bigger. So rather than the upper back bending and the lower back kind of being straight to accommodate the weight, my upper back kind of, the hips shoot forward. Another sign is you'll see the sideways shifting of the hips, which is showing that my core just can't keep up that brace to support that weight overhead as well. It's kind of like shaking in a squat or shaking in a deadlift, kind of hitting that point where we're not able to maintain that brace. And wrapping up with some Atlas stones, finally able to throw in some Atlas stones into the program, which has been awesome. My current strategy is to build up technique and volume with my lighter 185 pound stone, which I try and set new rep PRs each week. So this week was 10 reps with the stone. I did try to lift 215 pound stone unsuccessfully. So my biggest goal with accumulating this volume with the 185 pound stone is to just build up some technical muscle memory, as well as just some strength in the lift, so that I can work my way up to picking up that heavier stone. The difficult part with the Atlas stones is that there's no real incremental loading. We're kind of jumping from 185 to 215 pounds. So instead of trying to obviously create stones that are 5 pound differentials, kind of working on building up the strength through accumulation of reps in order to hopefully get to the point where that 215 can break off the ground like once or twice. We're using that strategy of building up to a heavy single and then using some back off volume in order to drive that muscle growth and drive those adaptations to pick up heavy weights in the future. So that'll wrap up the 4th week of training. Hopefully you found some insights there over the training footage. If you've found some value out of this video, please click that like button. Also consider subscribing to the channel and to the playlist so you don't miss out on those future training videos, as well as my final overall rating and review of the program in about 2 months now. So this has been Selwyn from Wynn Strength, and remember, a better life through strength.